and welcome to Aesthetic Insider Radio. This is your host, Angela O'Mara. One of the very special things about dentistry, and especially with our guest today, Dr. Laurence Rifkin, Beverly Hills cosmetic dentist, is the ability to really do some special effects in Hollywood, which we call dental effects. And Hollywood is known for special effects in terms of other things in the movie, but when it comes to dental effects, producers generally look to the expertise of Dr. Laurence Rifkin, who has worked on hit movies such as The Hangover, and even working with actor Laurence Fishburne on the Nelson Mandela TV series in making and helping them really take on the role that they are expected to in Hollywood in their acting when it comes to working with the teeth. Dr. Rifkin, welcome to Aesthetic Insider Radio. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Well, thank you, Angela. It's always a pleasure to be here. I'm really enjoying the ability and the opportunity to share with your audience the kind of fun aspects and interesting aspects behind dentistry today, in my experience.
Absolutely. And, I'd love for you to, for our listeners that are not familiar with you, just to give us a little background on you, and especially in terms of why Hollywood producers do reach out to you to help them, really create these special dental effects in the movies.
Well, thank you. A little bit about myself. I'll try to summarize this relatively quickly. I got 40 years plus of experience in cosmetic and reconstructive dentistry. I've been practicing in Beverly Hills for most of my career. Of course, I've been a teacher at universities. I love to lecture internationally as well as locally. To me, teaching is also learning. And I've also been able to publish and be creative and innovative in my years of experience. I've had lots of wonderful experiences with patients, both in the normal realm of dentistry, as well as in some of the people that I've been able to associate with, both in professional athletes, celebrities, and acting, modeling, and so on and so forth. Probably because of my passion for sculpting, which I'm also a professional sculptor. I've been able to apply artistic principles that I learned while I was in college, well before I was a dentist, and apply that to my cosmetic dentistry, and even, as we're going to be talking about today a little bit, the special effects aspect of Hollywood to complete the character of an actor by not only them having their makeup and wardrobe affected by that, but also, of course, their teeth. So I've been fortunate. I kind of got into it because of some of my patients who were actors, celebrity, and they asked me if I could perform certain effects on them. And I said, sure, let's give it a try. So I really enjoyed that process too. This should be a real fun topic today.
Awesome. Well, how does dental effects work when it comes to Hollywood movies? Are they regular patients that come in, and then they have the need in the show, or just the producers, say, this is what we want to do in this particular movie, and how can you help us? How does that work?
Well, it's come from both directions. It's come from actual actors themselves who had letting me know about their role that's coming up in an upcoming movie, or some of the producers that are my patients and say, we've got this movie coming up. We want to produce this character. A couple of examples, you kind of mentioned that right away, was Laurence Fishburne, and a couple of roles that he had done for trying to portray Nelson Mandela, and also one of the great characters and people in our world, Thurgood Marshall, Supreme Court Justice, first Black Supreme Court Justice, other roles like in The Hangover. So it usually comes from the actor who has an idea, and they say, my teeth don't look like this character. Can we make them look like that? So it comes in from both directions.
And how did you first get involved with doing dental effects? Was there kind of a pivotal moment that, the first one that you did, or has it just kind of been something that has grown organically?
Well, I would say I didn't go out seeking the opportunity to do special effects, although it is tremendously fun and rewarding. Being around for as long as I have, and meeting lots of great patients, and having a lot of actors and celebrities in my practice, athletes as well. As a team dentist for the Los Angeles Lakers, I've had an opportunity to repair teeth that were either broken during athletic play or on a movie set. And so some of the actors had repaired teeth or had me repair their teeth. And I had the opportunity to go down to probably the movie set to do an emergency repair of a tooth for an actress that was on, I don't know if you remember the movie Grumpy Old Men. That was a fun aspect, opportunity for me to go down and repair that. Funny backstory of that, if you don't mind me sharing that, is at that time when I was trying to get on the movie set, I'm not an actor, but in those days, it's about probably 30 years ago, I looked a lot like Chuck Norris, and they thought I was Chuck Norris, and they thought I was joking when I said, no, I'm a dentist going on set to repair someone's teeth. And I thought that was kind of hilarious. And, and I did know actually Chuck Norris earlier in my life when I took karate for many years from him before he was an actor. He was a karate instructor, he's a great martial artist, and then he went on to doing a Texas Ranger and all that kind of stuff. But, that was sort of the first introduction. It was more repair rather than special effects. Another actor, and some of these actors, I can't really mention their names. Another one, movie Chain Reaction, had fractured teeth, and I had to do an emergency repair to keep them going on the movie because they don't want to shut down the movie if they don't have to. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars per day to shoot. So you have to be available to do some emergency and, exceptional repairs for the purpose of the movie, not even a special effects, just to keep it looking like their own self. Of course, on the other hand, there's been different movies that I have worked on, such as The Hangover. If everybody remembers the movie The Hangover, the first one, my patient and friend, Mr. Ed Helms, who's terrific, he allows me to mention his name. He's put it online. So he had the idea, if you remember the character Stewie, who was actually one of the dentists of the quote, the 4 guys or 5 guys in the wolf pack that were going out to Las Vegas to do a bachelor party, and they kind of accidentally had some drugs put in their drinks, and they went a little crazy one night, and Stewie the dentist, actually the character was to pull his tooth out, one of his front teeth out, as a dentist, and he thought that would be hilarious. So Ed came to me and said, hey, with his producer, how can we make my front teeth look like I actually pulled a tooth out? And I said, well, you can black out the teeth, but we looked further into it, and he doesn't mind me sharing this, he had a crown or a tooth, one of the front teeth, made on a dental implant. And if anybody understands a dental implant, you can screw a crown onto the implant, make it look like a totally natural tooth. And it's really not a real tooth. It's actually a crown, an artificial tooth attached to an implant which goes into the gum tissue and bone. So I said, yeah, what we can do? We can actually remove that crown. We can put in some artificial gums to close up the little space that's there. And during the movie, you'll have an actual missing tooth. So you don't need to black out the tooth or do some funny CGI types of special effects. You'll actually have a missing tooth. But while you're not shooting on set, we had to make, obviously, these little removable appliances that replace a missing tooth just so he could be social during the few months while the movie was being shot. And so he looked social and normal during that time. And when the movie was over with, we replaced that crown on the implant with a real crown that he would look great again and back to normal. So this was a great opportunity, sort of a creative idea between a collaboration of the 3 of us to see how we could make that happen. And it did. So if anybody watches the movie, when you see Stewie or Ed Helms missing that tooth, he's actually missing that tooth. And of course, he's done movies since then. So that's one example, a fun example of actually doing some special effects, not just a repair. I have, a couple more stories. One would be Laurence Fishburne, who you remember. He's a fantastic, fine actor. He's a handsome man. He's got natural gaps between his teeth, and that looks great. I'm all for gaps. It goes with your character. Every face is unique and different. But in the roles that he was taking on, such as I mentioned, Thurgood Marshall, Supreme Court Justice, and also Nelson Mandela, most recently, or last year, I believe he had a TV series called Madiba. He was shooting that in South Africa, and he wanted to close the gap. So what we had done is we developed multiple sets of little overlay plastic teeth that fit and filled the gaps between his teeth. And in doing so, he actually started to look much more like Nelson Mandela. He also, the interesting thing about it is that it can affect the speech pattern to some degree, because if you're used to having gaps between your teeth, your tongue and mouth adapt to speaking with those gaps. If you fill those gaps in, it's another transformation. So it was really a lot of fun to have him sit here while we develop these and run through lines and develop the South African accent and talk like Nelson Mandela and see how it was affecting his phonetics. And he adapted to it really quickly. He's an amazing actor. If you close your eyes and listen to him, it's Nelson Mandela. And he did the same thing with his one-man act of Thurgood Marshall, who also had no spaces between his teeth. So those are really fun opportunities for me to learn not only about the aesthetics, and we looked at multiple photographs of these real live people who he portrayed and duplicate that aesthetically so that it was pretty much as identical as possible, but also learning the process of how teeth affect not only the aesthetics of your smile, but also the phonetics. I've had many singers come into my practice over the years, and we have to be extremely careful of how we do smile makeovers or fix a few teeth because that can affect their pitch and the way they speak. I've had singers that was in Phantom of the Opera. I really can't mention the names again. I've had actually Becky G, who's out there, Cheryl Lloyd. What else have I had? Gosh, it's hard to remember all of them because there's been so many over the years. But someone from the Rolling Stones, some from the Hot Red Chili Peppers. These people, they need to be able to sing and not have their voice change. They don't want to feel uncomfortable on stage. So those are singers. I've had TV show people. Let's say Tyronda Jones from the movie or the TV show Empire. We did a segment on the doctors, how she wanted to do a smile makeover to make herself enhance her smile, things that really bothered her. So again, as an actress and wanting to transform her smile, we also had to work with the phonetics, and that seemed to be no problem for her adapting to that. We did a show on the doctors. Another repair aspect, somewhat special effects, because some treatments are very short term. They can take 1 week or 2 weeks. Another one was on our Hulu channel, if you know the Vanderpump Rules TV series. That's an amazing show. Poor Sheena, we did a show on the doctor showing what could be done when someone has an accidental fall, and she actually broke a few teeth and lost a front tooth. And she's a beautiful, beautiful young lady, aspiring not only actress but singer. And she was devastated with her smile because she had lost her front tooth. The lip was, obviously swollen for a short time. That wasn't the big problem. That's healed quickly. But missing a tooth and then having to repair the other teeth and continue on the show, which is almost a daily series. You can't take a break. You've got to be able to, the show must go on. And so she wanted to continue her character without looking, poorly. So we made some temporary teeth. We went through a longer term reconstruction of both the bone and the gum tissue, and finally the teeth over a year's worth of treatment. And so she had to work confidently the entire time, during treatment, during times of healing. And that turned out to be quite nice. And again, as an actress and not wanting to look, always want to look your best and not affect your speech, that was a fun special effects kind of opportunity for me. Movies I've worked on, like
In terms of the phonetics that you talk,
Sure.
sorry, what was that?
No.
In terms of the phonetics that you,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
in terms of the phonetics that you talk about, and the voice and the pitch, how do you do that? Like, how do you, because obviously, like you said, the tongue is rolling against the back of the teeth. Is that something in the case of Laurence Fishburne where he needs to learn to adapt his method of speech, or is it something in how you do the special effects so that it's an easy transition for him?
Well, it's a combination. That's a really great question. Actors learn accents, so they need to have a very highly educated tongue and palate to be able to enunciate words differently with different accents, even with their own natural teeth. When you add in the changes anatomically of the teeth length or thickness, it affects the space for the tongue and how you enunciate, let's say, F sounds or S sounds. We call this sibilants or fricatives. You say the word 55 or 66. The tongue is affected by the shape and length and position of your front teeth for the most part. And so we have to work with the temporary teeth when we design that to start to shape and control the contour and forms to make it the most comfortable transition for their tongue to adapt to that new shape. And this is a process that's kind of I don't want to say trial and error, but we just continuously refine shapes of teeth so that they're in a very natural form and the actor or person can readapt to that shape. So that's a temporary crown, huge part of our practice, both for the person that's non-acting, but when we do a smile makeover, it can also affect someone's speech to some small degree, and we all adapt to that because over our lifetime, our teeth do change, they grow, they change position, and we can adapt to that. But when we do it rapidly, like a smile makeover or a special effects situation, we have to work with the person, the patient, and make sure that our contours are suitable for them. So that's one of the methods and of refining what we design. It's a design aspect and working through it.
Now, is there any overlap in terms of dental effects and special things you might build for a patient with a particular dental issue outside of outside of movies, I should say?
Yeah. Well, again, to kind of re-summarize, whether it's one tooth that needs to be identically duplicated to the prior tooth, we work very hard as artisans and in dentistry to work with my team to shape a tooth and color the tooth and make sure that it looks undetectable, looks like a natural tooth. So from simple to very complex reconstructions, the process is a creative process. If it's a smile makeover, then you've heard on my prior shows that I really look at the entire face. Smile is a very important aspect of the face. It's a communication center, but it also should look natural and personalized to that individual patient. So again, the process of design, starting with photographs, computer imaging models, three-dimensional models, digital models, creating wax sculptures of the new teeth that would be appropriate for that particular patient in the shape relative to their lips and face. That's all part of the normal design process. The Hollywood experience with being very particular, and as I always am anyway, but also understanding the impact on speech. That's all part of the design. It's not just about looks. It's health, it's function, it's chewing, it's speaking, and it's personalizing those teeth to make it look like that patient grew up with beautiful teeth genetically. And again, they do relate to one another because all experiences are additive. In my experience, being challenged to do these repairs in short term and long term, create new characters that have to be able to function and speak, has always helped me in my everyday practice with my patients who are, just as important to me as any celebrity. So there is a great crossover into those learning experiences.
No, what about in terms of like for people in the modeling industry? I understand, of course, as a model on there's a lot of lighting, whether it's bright lights, dimming lights, and shadowing that light the cause. Now, I do know in the kind of plastic surgery realm, under eye shadowing and other kind of, deficits might be made more obvious when the lights are on. Is there ever an instance in dentistry where perhaps shadowing from lighting might make somebody with a perfect smile look like they have an imperfect smile, and that's something you have to fix or can fix? Is that not an
That's a really great question. I have a lot of different cases and experiences, and you bring up one that I almost forgot. A patient came to me, and she had a beautiful smile, beautiful young lady actress, and her teeth weren't really bad. In real life, with normal lighting, her teeth are slightly crowded, slightly overlapped, but not bad enough to really say, hey, you need a whole smile makeover. On the other hand, when she's acting every day with harsh studio side lighting, and this is true for many of the models that I've worked on, it tends to create shadows in studio lighting that are not really there in normal ambient lighting, normal daylight inside the house or office or a building. It's not as harsh as it is in the studio. So with the harsh studio side lighting, with overlapping teeth, it can create a shadow on the tooth that's overlapping the adjacent one. And so there are different methods of correcting this. Oftentimes, it's simply a minor orthodontic movement, just simply moving a few teeth and getting them more straight and aligned to eliminate that overlap. And I've done many cases like that where some minor orthodontics I perform myself different types of treatments, removable appliances. It could be Invisalign type appliances or standard, orthodontic historic appliances, but they come in and out. And over a short period of time, sometimes in as little as 6 to 12 weeks, we can eliminate minor crowding and eliminate that shadowing effect. Other methods can be some direct bonding of filling in a tooth that might be a bit small and tucked back behind another tooth, or with porcelain veneers. Sometimes just one veneer, or it could be more than that. It depends on the effect that we want to achieve. But it can eliminate, as you beautifully identified, the difficulty sometimes with models and actors that are under this harsh studio lighting that creates the shadows. Lateral lighting, things that are not straight on, that would overfill with light the patient's face in the scene or the set, might not work well with their teeth if they're overlapped. So yeah, that's a really good example of how special effects and understanding studio lighting can affect the teeth and how the person looks.
Now, let me ask you, do you feel, since you've, because you were talking about your length of time that you've actually been doing dental effects, and all the way back to, many, many years ago, before the Hangover and before these big kind of, Nelson Mandela TV series, things that we know more recently.
Right.
Would you say that your kind of work in the Hollywood special effects industry, from some time back, has had any kind of an impact on you with your kind of, non-Hollywood actors? I mean, non-Hollywood patients, sorry, over the years, has this changed anything in how you perform dentistry, or has it given you perhaps an added element that, perhaps a dentist who hasn't worked with in Hollywood in this way wouldn't kind of have these secrets, or disguising flaws or blemishes?
Right.
How would you say, has it changed anything in the way you practice dentistry?
Well, another great question. I think that it has changed my practice because it's enabled me to gain some experience and knowledge in a little bit more sensitive, challenging cases, such as making perfect duplication of teeth that have been fractured. It has made me obviously very sensitive to the additional concerns of phonetics and speech, because the normal person doesn't always think about this. Maybe the dentist that hasn't had a lot of experience in dealing with makeovers and their impact upon speech might not notice that right away and would have to work subsequently to redevelop or reshape or redesign teeth that maybe have looked great but didn't function or well for the patient, or was a bit uncomfortable in their speech. So it has changed my protocol of how I design teeth. So I go through my system, my system of aesthetic predictability and phonetic predictability, by going through the important step of developing provisionals, or what we call temporaries. So with every patient, we go through the same protocol, because I like predictability. I like patients to have the least amount of change and difficulty that's unfamiliar to them. And so with our temporaries, we can design, before we commit to the final ceramic restorations, in a very short time, the proper shape. And this has impacted my protocol for predictability and keeping patients comfortable and happy throughout the entire, even short-term process of correcting their teeth or correcting their smiles. So yeah, all those experiences really, if I think about it, and you've brought it up to me now, I really realize it, have added to my knowledge base and my experience to be able to anticipate potential problems with my normal non-Hollywood patients, and make their treatment a little bit more predictable and more fun for them as well.
And then I guess, we have about 5 minutes left on the show here, Dr. Rifkin. And I know you can't reveal names and secrets and different things, but is there anything on the horizon we should be looking for, where your dental effects skills are being used? Is there anything new in the making?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's another show, Angela. Yes. The things that not only on the horizon, but we're working with very innovative combinations of treatment and predictability. Now that we have different types of scanners that not only scan the skeletal system and scan the surface of the face, and we can get three-dimensional accurately measurable models of patients' face and teeth, I think you or your audience may know that I sculpt, and I sculpt from the inside out. I build the skeleton before I put the muscles on and before I put the skin that drapes over that. We have to look from the inside out. So with that, the benefit of technology today with three-dimensional skeletal scanners, that also adding to three-dimensional surface scanners, which are multiple cameras in a rotational standpoint that you can actually look at the patient inside out. You can look at their skeletal system and fade in and fade out the outside surface contour. So what does that help us do? That actually helps us predict if we change the teeth position, what would that affect on their smile or their lips? So in designing teeth, we can actually, to a small degree, predict a facial change with some of the dental changes that we might consider, whether it's just veneers or it could be orthodontics or even some jaw surgeries, rare cases where patients have some sort of skeletal deformity. So on the horizon, all of these technologies will help me, and are doing this already, work with my dental technicians for facial aesthetics, as well as my other specialists in the medical community of plastic surgery. So we can take a patient and look at them from the inside out, make these changes both dental-wise and on the surface skin changes, whether it ends up being enhancement of lips by injectables, whether it's a facelift surgery. Any of these things can now start to be built in, just like you're building, I hate to say it, an automobile from the ground up. Look at the skeletal system, look at the teeth, look at the lips and the soft tissue draping, and look at the surface and see how we can improve a patient's function and health and beauty all at the same time with the new technologies. You know, the principles don't change. You know, the aesthetic goals may not change, but how we get there is just a matter of continuous learning and technology. And all of these tools that we have are just meant to enhance our ability to do this more efficiently, more effectively, and more predictably. So that's not only on the horizon, it will improve, it will continuously improve, but it's already here today. So it's amazing. It's so much fun. I hope I get to practice another 100 years. I don't know if that'll happen. But
well, I'm sure you will. You are the healthiest men I know, so I'm pretty sure you'll still be around. Well, Dr. Rifkin, it's just an amazing show, and your work is obviously phenomenal. And again, as seen in the movies like The Hangover or the Nelson Mandela TV series, and many of the others that you mentioned also. For our listeners who would like to get in touch with you, Dr. Rifkin, what is the best way for them to reach you? Is there a phone number or a website? How would they reach you?
Well, they can call directly my office at area code 310-273-0200. They can speak to any one of my staff. They're incredibly nurturing, loving, helpful staff. They're very well qualified. They're the top professionals. I couldn't work without them. They're amazing. My website is, everything starts with www, as everyone knows. It's drlaurencerifkin.com. So Dr. Laurence Rifkin is DRLaurencerif, like Frank, KIN.com. And there's also my other website called suite1200.com. It's SUITE1200.com. And if they're interested in looking at my sculptures, they can see my sculptures on rifkinsculpture.com. It's like my last name, RIF as in Frank, KIN, sculpture, SCULPTURE.com, all one word, so to speak. And that would be some of the best ways to get in touch with me. You can also follow me on my social media on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all usually under Dr. Laurence Rifkin. So those are probably the best ways. Give me a shout out. You know, we can always do if anybody's interested. Go ahead. Sorry. Hello.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Rifkin, thank you so much for being on our Such a Insider Radio. As always, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show, and I can't wait for the next time.
Me too. This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this particular topic because it gives a little bit more than just the technology and interesting points about normal dentistry. It gives a little bit of stories and then my experiences, which have added to my joy and what I do and my passion. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and your audience again, Angela. I appreciate it.
You're absolutely welcome. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.